like a gold star is what you get when you do something good when you're a kid. You know what I'm saying? So all of a sudden you're a gold star lesbian, so you got a star from teacher because you didn't give up the twat. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, okay.
Right. I know. And I think that's what she meant. And,
yeah.
And
but you may not have felt that way. Like, for you, it may be about, like, you knew yourself, and you're proud that you knew yourself at such an early age that you were able to make choices that were more in alignment with who you are and your highest. Because there are people that have that thing that if you slept with a man, there's something wrong.
Right.
Like, you didn't know yourself, or you're going to go back, or you're going to do that. And then there's the other side of the scale, which I don't think is the best either. Like, well, how can you know if you've never done it? I'm like, you know, I don't really want to jump off a building with a rubber band attached to my ankle either. I don't really need to go bungee jumping to know that I really don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah, which is an argument that I tried to explain to men, which is another topic that I wanted to bring up about bisexuality. Another one of my, I could say issues with bisexuality, and it's not even probably true bisexuals, but it confuses straight people when certain behavior when certain behavior goes down, when girls kiss girls in clubs for male attention, and they're not bisexual or they're not anything. And I don't even want to say, I'm not blaming this on bisexuals. I'm saying that bisexual people who go from men to women, I would prefer if they would explain it a little better to men. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
Because what ends up happening a lot of times is if a guy comes up to me and is flirting, and I go, oh, I'm a lesbian, he goes, oh, that's okay. And I'm like, no, I'm not bisexual, I am a lesbian. You know, do you know what I'm saying? Like, he thinks, because a lot that girls will then label themselves, I'm a lesbian, and then they'll go, fuck him. And then he goes, well, wait a minute then, there's no such thing as lesbian. Like, all women are available to all men, period. And it's not that I'm saying that bisexuals have this job that they have to go out and educate the world, but labels are important, unfortunately, in this day and age. I feel like a lot of the reason we have come so far with public sentiment is because we've been visible, and because of labels. And I'm not saying that labels are perfect, I'm saying that more people coming out and identifying as either gay or bisexual has helped people to feel normal about it, or to feel that we are normal. So while some people say labels are for cans, I go, no, labels are useful to become visible in order for people to start understanding us and feeling like we're normal people. Because if you just say, if every gay person just said, well, labels are for cans and I live on a spectrum and I'm not going to label myself at all, would there be any visibility of gays if we all shed that idea that labels aren't necessary? I mean, would there be any, you know what I'm saying? Like, in a way,
they'd be out in the world with their girlfriends though, or for men, their boyfriends, and they'd see who they were with. I mean, I wish that there was, well, there is one, but people are on the fence about whether or not to use it, but a lot of times I'll use queer. Because that covers everything.
Yes.
It covers everything in the spectrum. I don't have to deal with what you think or what you don't think or what falls in what, because you figure,
I like that too.
I'll go, I'll take a little punani.
Yeah.
Whether I take a lot or a little.
But I like that. It is a label though, and it is helping to identify us, not as different, but to just identify us, because back in the 50s and 60s we were invisible, and no one would name it. No one would say, I am gay, I am queer, I am lesbian, whatever the case may be. So while I agree that labels can be confining, I believe they're also a big reason why we are being accepted, in society.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people who are arguing about it wouldn't argue as much with queer as a label. I think their problem is having to give a specific thing of how they're queer.
Right.
Like, most of those people will acknowledge that they at least are somewhat same-sex drawn, which, so if that puts you a little bit, I don't think any of the people that we're talking about are like, no, I really want to identify as straight.
Right. No, of course not. But there are, I know a lot of gay people who, or bi or whatever in the community who think the idea of labels is like, it's offensive to label anything. And I'm kind of like, but I disagree with that idea, just because I feel like it's helped. In some way, it's helped. It's useful, but yes, it can be confining. Well then, maybe the key is when you're doing that, if you're just going out to sport fuck, maybe don't identify yourself as a lesbian to the guy, only because it's making it difficult for those of us who are not interested in men. And again, this is, this is all talk. Like, I don't expect you to go out and do all this. I'm just saying that it undermines to some extent.
It's not your edict to the lesbian community?
It's not what?
Your edict to the lesbian community? You didn't give them the lesbian constitution?
It's right here. This is what you must do as a good lesbian. No, I'm just throwing it out there because it's a consistent and has been a consistent issue that I tend to not go to straight clubs or straight places because of this. Like, I don't want to be bothered because the simple, I'm a lesbian and not interested does not seem to stick. Like, it doesn't mean anything to them.
Yeah.
Okay, you're lesbian, so what? That's all good. And I'm like, no, it's not all good. You are not, And then it creates this defensiveness that I don't like, that I carry into the straight club with me. And my best friend sometimes wants me to be his wingman. And I spend the entire night angry and defensive because, you know what I'm saying?
You need to butch it up when you go out. So they have the signal. What's the signal going to be? Can we decide as a community what the signal will be? Maybe there's something that we can put out, a wire.
What the signal? What do you mean?
I don't know.
Like the signal?
Like maybe everybody wears, what is it? Didn't the boys used to have something where the bandanas in different colors meant certain things?
in the back pocket.
Yeah.
Well, women used to wear violets, which is why it's called the Violet Underground. Women used to wear violets back in the day.
You learn something new.
You learn something new. They used to wear violets to, signal to each other that they were in the sisterhood. Yeah. Isn't that great? Shouldn't we bring violets back? No.
We should do something.
That's something.
Fun to me.
Yeah. Oh no. I love the little. I wish that we could see a big flashing sign that would, and I know you're not going to be either lesbian or straight. It's going to be somewhere in the middle, but like a little like gas tank of like where you stand.
Yeah, maybe it can, and it can fluctuate. Because I feel like sexuality is fluid. I really do. I think it changes for people over time. So what if it moved?
Wouldn't that be great?
As you move.
Is there any last thoughts you have on this particular? To wrap things up, as they like to say.
Tie a bow on it.
To tie a bow on the issue of bisexuality, what would you?
I guess the labels thing to me would only work if everybody had the same definitions, and they don't. So even the labels, I think, don't necessarily work. I think it's for each individual, which this is a relatively new thing for me. This idea of like not being rigid about the labels. I used to be really rigid about it.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've realized that like I'm fluid and that me using my definitions doesn't always translate into people actually understanding what I'm meaning to communicate, which is I actually think the only use for labels, because most of the time people use them to put people in a box.
Right.
And instead I think they just need to be a base for the beginning of a conversation.
Right. Okay. I like that. We've come to absolutely no conclusions here other than to just open up a dialogue, and I'm curious to know what you girls think of some of the things we talked about, like in particular the age, like the idea of bisexuality past a certain age seems to be the older people get, the less bisexuals there seem to be.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that? Is it because people are in long-term relationships? Is it that they get entrenched in a certain community and they feel more comfortable?
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be. But are they still bisexual if they're not practicing?
Interesting.
Yes. So write us and let us know. And pop over to After Ellen and see Dalila on Cherrybomb. And go off and have sex with whomever you like.
Yeah. As long as they're okay with it.
Yes. We're not going to judge you.
Yeah, no judgment.
Okay, let's do a different ending just in case that's retarded. Just say goodbye. Okay. We're just going to say goodbye now.
Yeah. Bye, and thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you.
And come play on Cherrybomb.
Yes.
Every Friday.
Every Friday.
Yes.
After you watch this video blog.
Yes.